Is my relationship worth saving? This question often creeps into our minds during moments of doubt and emotional exhaustion. For some, it arises when they feel like they're carrying the weight of the relationship alone, constantly asking for the bare minimum, only to be met with silence or neglect. For others, it's the aftermath of betrayal, where trust has been shattered, leaving behind a trail of insecurity and fear. And then, there are those who feel like strangers in their own relationship, living as roommates rather than partners, with intimacy and connection fading into the background. These scenarios are more common than you might think, yet each one carries its own unique pain. The truth is, questioning the value of your relationship doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. It's a sign that you care deeply, even if you feel lost or unsure about the path forward. But here's the thing. Before you can decide whether to stay or walk away, you need to understand the root of your feelings. Are you feeling neglected, betrayed, or simply disconnected? Identifying the core issue is the first step toward clarity. For instance, if you feel like your partner doesn't listen to you, ask yourself, have you communicated your needs clearly, or have they been consistently ignored? This kind of reflection can be uncomfortable, but it's essential. And yet, even as you reflect, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the weight of it all. You might wonder if things will ever get better, or if you're just delaying the inevitable. But here's the good news. Every relationship, no matter how strained, has the potential for change, if both people are willing to put in the effort. The question is, are you both ready to face the uncomfortable truths and do the work? This is where the journey begins, and it's not an easy one. But before diving into solutions, let's take a moment to acknowledge the emotional toll this process takes. Acknowledging the pain of trying to save a relationship is no small feat. It's exhausting to keep showing up, giving your all, and still feeling like it's not enough. But let's pause for a moment. Have you recognized how much effort you've already put in? The late-night conversations, the compromises, the moments you chose patience over frustration. These actions, no matter how small they may seem, are a testament to your commitment. And that deserves recognition. After all, it's not easy to fight for something when you're unsure of the outcome. It's also important to show yourself some compassion. Too often, people beat themselves up for not being able to fix things, as if the entire relationship rests solely on their shoulders. But here's the truth. Relationships are a two-way street. Your effort matters, but it cannot carry the weight of the entire partnership. Take a moment to appreciate your resilience. You've stayed, you've tried, and that alone speaks volumes about your character. Self-compassion isn't just a buzzword. It's a necessity when navigating emotional challenges like this. Now, let's be honest. There's a fine line between persistence and self-sacrifice. While it's noble to fight for love, it's equally important to recognize when the fight is draining you emotionally. Are you prioritizing your own well-being in this process? Or have you lost sight of yourself in the effort to save the relationship? These are tough questions, but they're necessary. Because before you can truly move forward, whether together or apart, you need to validate your own feelings and efforts. And that's where the real work begins. Relationships are not the fairy tales we grew up believing in. They're messy, complicated, and require constant work. The truth is, love alone isn't enough to sustain a partnership. It takes mutual effort, patience, and a willingness to face challenges head-on. Think of a relationship as a garden. If you neglect it, weeds of resentment and misunderstanding will take over. But if both partners are committed to nurturing it, even the most damaged garden can bloom again. The key is understanding that growth requires work from both sides, not just one. However, it's crucial to draw a line between effort and endurance. Love should never be an excuse to tolerate neglect, disrespect, or abuse. True love doesn't demand that you sacrifice your self-worth or ignore your emotional needs. For instance, if your partner consistently dismisses your feelings or crosses your boundaries, that's not love. It's a lack of respect. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual care and accountability, not on one person carrying the emotional burden while the other remains indifferent. At the same time, it's important to recognize that no relationship is perfect. There will be arguments, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt. What separates a healthy relationship from a toxic one is how these challenges are addressed. Are both partners willing to listen, learn, and grow? Or is one person stuck in a cycle of blame and avoidance? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they're necessary to uncover the truth about your relationship. And as we explore what makes a relationship truly healthy, you'll start to see the difference between love that uplifts and love that drains. A healthy relationship isn't built on grand gestures or fleeting moments of passion. It's rooted in the everyday actions that foster trust, respect, and connection. Emotional intimacy is one of the most important pillars. It's about feeling safe enough to be vulnerable, to share your fears, dreams, and insecurities without judgment. Imagine being able to say, "I'm struggling today," and knowing your partner will listen with empathy rather than dismissing your feelings. That's the kind of connection that strengthens a bond over time. Respect and mutual appreciation are equally essential. In a healthy relationship, both partners feel valued for who they are, not just for what they provide. This means celebrating each other's strengths and supporting each other's growth. For example, if one partner is pursuing a new career or hobby, the other should cheer them on rather than feel threatened. Respect also means honoring boundaries, whether it's about personal space, time, or emotional needs. Without respect, even the strongest love can crumble under the weight of resentment. And let's not forget trust. Trust is the glue that holds everything together, but it's also fragile. It takes years to build and seconds to break. A healthy relationship prioritizes honesty and accountability. If mistakes happen, both partners take responsibility and work toward repair, rather than brushing things under the rug. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing up, being consistent, and proving through actions that the relationship is a safe space. These qualities, intimacy, respect, and trust, are the foundation of a partnership that can weather any storm. Saving a relationship is no small task, and sometimes the biggest challenge lies in the imbalance of effort. When only one person is willing to change or put in the work, the relationship becomes a one-sided battle. Imagine trying to row a boat with only one oar. It's exhausting, and you'll likely end up going in circles. This dynamic often leads to feelings of resentment and emotional burnout. A relationship can only thrive when both partners are equally invested in making it work, sharing the responsibility of growth and repair. Another significant barrier is the presence of toxic patterns. Neglect, verbal abuse, betrayal, or consistent disrespect can create emotional wounds that are difficult to heal. For instance, if one partner repeatedly dismisses the other's feelings or crosses boundaries, it creates a cycle of pain and mistrust. These patterns don't just disappear with time, they require intentional effort to break. But here's the hard truth. If one partner refuses to acknowledge or change these behaviors, it becomes nearly impossible to rebuild a healthy foundation. Finally, the inability to set or enforce boundaries can derail even the most well-intentioned efforts. Many people struggle with saying no or demanding change out of fear of conflict or rejection. But without clear boundaries, the relationship lacks structure and respect. For example, if a partner continues to engage in hurtful behaviors despite being called out, it's a sign that boundaries are not being honored. Recognizing these barriers is the first step toward addressing them, but it also requires courage to decide whether the relationship is worth fighting for, or if it's time to let go. Healthy boundaries are the backbone of any thriving relationship. They're not walls meant to keep your partner out, but rather guidelines that protect your emotional well-being and foster mutual respect. Think of boundaries as a way of saying, "This is how I need to be treated to feel safe and valued." For example, setting a boundary might mean asking for uninterrupted time to talk when discussing something important or expressing that certain words or behaviors are unacceptable. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're essential for maintaining self-respect and ensuring the relationship remains balanced. The challenge, however, lies in enforcing those boundaries, especially when it feels uncomfortable or risky. Many people fear that setting limits will push their partner away, but the truth is, boundaries often strengthen relationships. They create clarity and prevent misunderstandings. For instance, if you've been feeling neglected, clearly stating, "I need us to spend more quality time together," opens the door for connection rather than resentment. And yes, enforcing boundaries might lead to difficult conversations, but it also shows your partner that you value yourself. And that's a powerful message. But what happens when boundaries are repeatedly ignored? This is where tough decisions come into play. A partner who refuses to respect your limits is essentially saying they don't value your needs. And while it's painful, sometimes holding firm to your boundaries means facing the possibility of separation. It's not about being harsh, it's about prioritizing your emotional health. Boundaries are a form of self-love. and honoring them is a step toward creating a relationship built on mutual respect and care. And when boundaries are respected, they pave the way for deeper trust and connection. Rebuilding a relationship after it's been damaged is no small feat. It requires both partners to show up with humility, vulnerability, and a willingness to change. The first step is self-awareness. Each person must take a hard look at their own behaviors and acknowledge how they've contributed to the issues. For example, have you been dismissive of your partner's feelings, or has your pride kept you from apologizing when you were wrong? Recovery begins when both partners can set aside their egos and focus on repairing the emotional wounds that have been left behind. Communication is the lifeline of this process, but not just any communication. Honest, vulnerable, and intentional dialogue. This means creating a safe space where both partners can express their fears, needs, and hopes without fear of judgment. For instance, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel unheard when I share my feelings." This shift in language fosters understanding rather than defensiveness. Beyond words, actions matter too. Consistency in behavior, like following through on promises or making time for connection, proves that the effort to rebuild is genuine. Reconstruction also involves creating new habits that strengthen the bond. Maybe it's scheduling weekly date nights to reignite intimacy or practicing gratitude by acknowledging each other's efforts daily. Change doesn't happen overnight, but small, consistent actions can lead to big transformations. And while the road to recovery is challenging, it's also an opportunity to create a relationship that's stronger and more intentional than before. The question is, are both partners ready to commit to this journey of growth and healing? Sometimes, the hardest decision in a relationship is knowing when to let go. It's not about giving up, it's about recognizing when staying is doing more harm than good. If your partner shows no effort to change, no respect for your boundaries, or no interest in rebuilding trust, it's a clear sign that the relationship has become one-sided. For example, if you've repeatedly communicated your needs and they've been ignored or dismissed, it's time to ask yourself, is this relationship nurturing your well-being, or is it draining you emotionally? Toxic environments, whether emotional or physical, can take a toll on your mental health and even affect those around you. Like children, living in a space filled with constant conflict, neglect, or disrespect teaches unhealthy patterns to future generations. Imagine a child growing up watching one parent constantly belittling the other. What message does that send about love and respect? Choosing to leave isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about breaking cycles of toxicity and setting an example of self-worth and courage. Walking away can feel like failure, but it's often the healthiest choice when the relationship is unsustainable. It's not easy to let go of the dreams you had for the future, but staying in a relationship that erodes your sense of self is far more damaging. Leaving doesn't mean you didn't love enough. It means you loved yourself enough to prioritize your emotional health. And while the pain of separation is real, it also opens the door to healing, growth, and the possibility of a healthier connection in the future. Painful moments in relationships often feel like the end of the world, but they can also be the beginning of profound personal growth. Healing isn't just about moving on, it's about learning from the experience and using it to become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Think of it this way. Every heartbreak, every argument, and every disappointment is a mirror reflecting areas where you can grow. For example, a betrayal might teach you the importance of setting boundaries, or a period of neglect might push you to prioritize self-care. Growth and healing go hand in hand, but both require intentional effort. Listening to your emotions is a crucial part of this process. Often we try to suppress feelings of sadness, anger, or frustration, thinking they're signs of weakness. But these emotions are your inner compass, guiding you toward what needs attention. If you feel drained or unappreciated, it's a signal to reevaluate your boundaries and priorities. Healing also involves letting go of guilt and blame, whether it's directed at yourself or your partner. It's about accepting that while you can't change the past, you can choose how to move forward. Ultimately, healing is an act of self-love, and growth is the reward for your resilience. It's about embracing the lessons learned and using them to create healthier relationships in the future, both with others and with yourself. This journey isn't linear, and it's okay to stumble along the way. What matters is that you keep moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. And as you heal, you'll find that the pain you once thought would break you has actually shaped you into someone stronger and more compassionate. Every relationship you build leaves a legacy, not just for you, but for those watching, learning, and growing alongside you. Whether it's children, friends, or even younger family members, the way you approach love, connection, and conflict sets an example. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, empathy, and teamwork, and modeling these qualities can inspire others to seek the same. For instance, showing how you and your partner resolve disagreements calmly and respectfully teaches that conflict doesn't have to be destructive. It can be a tool for growth. But modeling healthy relationships isn't just about what you do as a couple, it's also about how you treat yourself. When you prioritize self-care, set boundaries, and demand respect, you're teaching others that self-worth is non-negotiable. Imagine the message you send to a child when they see you walk away from a toxic relationship. It tells them that love isn't about suffering or sacrifice, it's about mutual care and respect. These lessons ripple outward, influencing not just your immediate circle, but also future generations. The beauty of modeling healthy relationships is that it creates a cycle of positivity. When others see the strength and joy that come from a balanced, respectful partnership, they're more likely to seek the same in their own lives. And it's not just about romantic relationships. These principles apply to friendships, family dynamics, and even workplace interactions. By embodying the values of empathy, honesty, and vulnerability, you're not just improving your own life, you're planting seeds of change that can transform the lives of those around you. At the end of the day, relationships aren't about perfection, they're about progress. The most fulfilling partnerships are built on honesty, vulnerability, and mutual respect. But here's the thing, healing starts with a choice. Will you and your partner commit to doing the work together, or is it time to prioritize your own well-being and move forward separately? Neither path is easy, but both require courage. Remember, you don't need a perfect relationship. You need one where both people are willing to grow and evolve. Now, let's get real. What steps will you take today to create the life and love you deserve? Will you have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding? Will you set the boundaries you've been too afraid to enforce? Or will you finally choose to walk away from something that no longer serves you? These decisions aren't just about your relationship. They're about reclaiming your power and choosing a future that aligns with your values. Growth is uncomfortable, but it's also where transformation begins. So, what's your next move? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Together, we'll keep exploring the tools and insights you need to build healthier, more fulfilling relationships. After all, the journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning.